of, because he's just now saying, you guys think you can do better out there? Go on ahead. But if you're going to stay, then it's my way. It's not a democracy. And then they show this prison, and maybe that's like a metaphorical prison that they're finding themselves in, you know, like, oh, we're stuck with this guy. Mm-hmm. So my last one is Andrea's scorecard, because we've been watching Andrea and Lori because they're very hated, and I want to make sure that we acknowledge when they do good things. And I think Andrea was great in this episode. She was cool and collected, used the skills that Shane taught her with the gun to help protect the group. Even before the zombie attack, when they're all nervous about Rick and Shane coming back looking for Randall, Andrea wants to go look for them. Lori doesn't want her to. He says, if Randall comes back, we're going to need you. Does that mean that she's accepted that Andrea is a capable protector, you know, that maybe it's a good thing? She wanted to focus on shooting rather than cooking and cleaning, maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Then behind the farmhouse, there's two Zeds headed towards Carol and had her cornered, and she grabbed this stick and she was freaking out, and Andrea shot them both. And I think, you know, Carol later, of course, would have been able to handle that, but now she's not there yet. And I think there's a decent chance that Andrea just saved Carol's life. So
yeah, she really
there you
did.
go. If not for Andrea, we might not have Carol. Yeah.
100%.
And then at the end, she's separated and running for her life in the woods, and she shoots a bunch of them. And if she hadn't learned to use a gun, she'd probably be dead right there. Runs out of ammo. She stabbed one, like, I think right in the nose, the nasal cavity with a knife. I don't know if she's the first one to ever do that. I don't know. Maybe not. But then, of course, she's about to die, and then there's a hooded figure there with a katana and her two armless pets.
Best person ever.
First Michonne. Not Denai Guerrera, if people didn't know. She wasn't cast yet. And then I just had it down to mention that we see another version of this scene in season 10, episode 13, Michonne's final episode, when she's been drugged with a hallucinogen and imagines this alternate version of her life where she ignored Andrea's cries for help and ended up joining the Saviors. And I remember wondering if Laurie Holden had come back to film that, but then going back and checking, and they just repurposed clips from this scene, but then had Denai Guerrera in there doing other things.
Doing her thing.
So, yeah, points for Andrea this time.
Yeah, I think Andrea did pretty well. I mean, I would be fucking so dead. I am not good at running. So I was very impressed that she kept going. I was like, this girl jogs. I was like, she knows. I did think for someone who's suicidal like 5 minutes ago, this was quite the turnaround, but I was glad to see it. I was glad that Andrea was still fighting, and that entrance for Michonne is just so cool. It's so so cool.
All right. Notes? Any notes, Grace?
No, I'll just chime in with you guys.
Okay. We'll see.
Maggie can shoot. You grow up country, you learn a thing or two. I like this. The women are coming to the fore, and I'm enjoying it. I guess I have like, maybe this is a point, or I don't know, but it's interesting. So everything kind of leads back to the road and the cars and the focus on the Sophia message and the focus in particular on her name. And I guess it sort of leads me to the question of, is season 2 bad? Is it one in which we just circle and circle and don't ultimately get anywhere? Or how do we feel after a rewatch? Because after a rewatch, I think I like it better than I did. But I can still see the argument of like, there's a lot of futility in season 2 and a lot of kind of false security that doesn't really pay off in the end. So I don't know. I just kind of wanted to open up the question. Was season 2 bad? Was it good? I don't know.
I mean, I think it's pushing the characters in the direction where we need and want them to go, or, you know, kind of what really makes them who they end up being in a big part. This is like the little first seeds in a way of them really being tested, and, you know.
Yeah, I agree with that. Knowing where Rick's story goes, this is a good beginning to how dark he gets, you know, and then trying to come back from that.
Yeah. Yeah, and Andrea's whole arc with the gun, you know, training and
yeah, the characters, and Maggie and Glenn getting together. I know you don't like that part, Grace, but
I was in full support. Little jealous, but full support.
But so season 2 hasn't been one of my favorites, and that's mostly because I feel like it repeats emotional beats and it doesn't move quickly enough. Things escalate slowly. But I do like it more after we've covered it, and I especially appreciate John Bernthal's performance more, and more things about it. So yeah, I think I don't know, maybe this is trite to say, but it could have been more of a half season to get to this point, but I don't know.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I feel a bit dragged out, but otherwise good.
The only other thing I had was that it's cute that Glenn finally tells Maggie that he loves her, but probably quite a traumatic situation in which to be told that for the first time.
It seemed to calm her down a little.
She was like, so
okay. I think the best thing he said was, "Hey, we made it. We're alive. They probably are too," which is probably the best thing you could do,
Yeah, he did. Glenn did good.
Yeah. All right. So my notes, they're talking about how great this farm is, and I'm like, where's the crops? We don't see any crops, right? There are crops, but we never see them.
Yeah, we don't really see them.
Talk at some point about some crops, because if there's no crops, there's like no chickens or anything. There's one cow. He's dead. She's dead, I should say. All right. So next, I just wanted to mention that Grace and I interviewed Lauren Cohan during this season. I think it was during the mid-season break. It's episode 51 in the feed if anybody wants to go back and listen to that.
Excellent.
I don't remember what she said. And then they run low on gas and they decide to set up camp and look for gas in the morning. And I'm like, you guys didn't manage your time well, because they all came together and it took them until daylight to get there, but I can't imagine they were just like driving around for 12 hours or something. So it seems like they had many hours left in the day to go and look for gas. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. Just seemed like that day went by pretty quickly, after the.
and with the gas thing, it's who was it? Glenn's. It was like, we can't all fit in one car. They could have totally, you had two people on the motorcycle. You could have like siphoned the gas out of the Hyundai until you found a better, and just piled everyone in that huge ass SUV thing.
Yeah, I went to India. I saw whole families on one scooter, like 5 people. All right, let's move on to
Only on The Walking Dead.
I'll go first. Only on The Walking Dead would zombies not get to crawl through the windows of an inviting farmhouse. Totally not fair.
I said only in The Walking Dead would they get so many headshots while riding in a vehicle going unnecessarily fast.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot. We used to talk a lot about how great they were at getting headshots.
Only on The Walking Dead would you declare your love in a Hyundai that's probably covered with things from Shane and Andrea that we don't want to think about. Do not shine a UV light in there, Glenn. That's all I'm saying.
Ew.
I think we should
do a little Q&A and talk about our experience filming this episode Beside the Dying Fire. I have a couple questions for you, Grace. I wanted to know if you were surprised at all by how it turned out when you watched it, if you remember that.
I was surprised at the number of things that didn't make it in, and including one very close up of me and 2 other zombies, like right in the camera, that I was disappointed not to see. But what I was most surprised of, and it was a cool effect, but as a person who wanted to find myself, very disappointing, is how dark they made it.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't that dark, in real life. So I didn't expect it to be so dark on the screen that you could barely see what was individual zombies and what was going on. So that surprised me.
Yeah. Yeah, I was sitting there looking for myself, and I could see, like, I was watching it with friends, and I'd be like, oh, I'm one of those stumbling ones over there, and you can't really see anything, right? And so then when it got to the scene where they're all reaching out for Rick and Carl, and you could totally see me there, I was so stoked, like, oh, yes, it's a clear shot.
Yeah, that was so clear. And it was cool that they had that in the, the big photo of that was like around.
Yeah, it was on because this was, the season finale. So on the AMC website, they had the photo of all the zombies reaching out for Rick and Carl, except the Talking Dead logo covered up all the zombies except for me. So you just see me and Rick.
Okay. I knew I had seen it around, so that must have been where it was from. And I know you grabbed it and you had it on your page for the longest.
So, and you did more episodes, right? And
oh yeah,
what was like? Tell me about one of those, like the best one, the most prominent one, I guess.
oh gosh, and I don't remember I know I was on Home, but I can't remember if that was the one where Daryl was looking for Carol, I guess it was. Anyway, I'm there, and that was the one where they had the shot of Daryl. He's like in the halls of the prison. He's down on the ground, and I'm like, it was kind of the same thing where it was all over AMC, that shot, and I'm like laying dead in the background. But that was the coolest of any experience I had, because it was just to me and one other zombie. So it was like we were just totally a part of the crew. It wasn't like we were separated. Like on the season 2 finale, there was like so many people. We were just totally separated from everybody when we weren't filming. And with this one, we're eating right next to them. We're,
wow.
chit-chatting a little bit between
That's
scenes
so cool.
or whatever. And like, I remember one time I was just waiting in the hallway for my scene, and Michael Rooker wasn't in, filming that day, but he like just kind of strides on set. He comes over and he starts talking to me and the other zombie, and that was super cool. So, but I've had a lot of, I had a lot of fun times doing it.
Yeah, that reminded me of what I was going to say earlier, that when we would all get in these shuttles and they would drive us over to the farm, which is really kind of off the beaten path. And I remember when we were driving down one of those dark country roads, I saw John Bernthal and Sarah Wayne Callies doing it doggy style. No, I'm just kidding. I saw them walking along, and it was interesting because Bernthal was done filming, but I guess he wanted to stick around for the end, which I think is just a testament to how much they all like loved it.
Jason, I realized I didn't do my IMDb dive this week, but there is a fact in there that John Bernthal did come to the set to watch the shooting of the finale. According to IMDb, he was too emotional, so he watched from the woods on the farm property. Cannot verify, but that is listed as a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I saw him. Yeah, he was there.
Yeah, he was there. I'll do it. Did he look emotional?
He was just chatting with Sarah Wayne Callies. So I'm going to go through a few listener questions, and then maybe we'll talk a little bit more. But Randy Stevenson, first question: which of you has the most screen time in this episode? I don't know. Probably me, right?
I don't know, because I mean, you had a really long bit of time there with the whole Rick and Carl thing, so maybe. I don't know. But, my fall, and if you guys want to look for me, it's like when Maggie is driving and Glenn's hanging out the window of the Hyundai. Glenn goes, "Keep it steady," and she's like, "I'm trying." And he shoots 2 shots, and the second shot is the one that kills me, and you see me go down, and my brains explode.
I got to go watch that.
Yeah, so that was super cool. That was the good moment. And you can see me pretty well when Patricia's being eaten. I come, but if you don't know who I am, and then you can see me really well when Daryl and Carol are going off on the bike, and the zombies are kind of going pretty quickly after them. I'm wearing it's like a navy blue sleeveless long dress, and this like kind of beigey shirt. So you can really see the beige of my shirt and my blonde hair when we're kind of going very quickly after
trying to run after them on their motorcycle.
Carol, yeah, we got yelled at a couple times for going too fast.
That's amazing.
That's funny. Yeah, because it was there was 100 of us, and so there's 3 levels of zombies. Basically, there's the ones that Grace mentioned earlier in the very back that don't even have anything, just the clothes, and then they're so far back that you can't see. Then there's the mid ground, and that's sort of most of us, and we have like spray on makeup. And then there's the hero zombies that get their prosthetics. They go into the makeup trailer for 3 to 6 hours or something like that and get the full thing done.
Yeah. And one of the nights I was a hero. I did get the prosthetics, you remember?
You looked gross.
I did look gross. So, and that was one of only 2 times that I worked that I got the prosthetic makeup. But the funny thing is the extras casting Atlanta lady, I can't remember her name, but she kind of got to choose who, when they needed some extra people, and so she chose me. And when I was like about to leave, I don't know exactly what she said, but it was kind of like with the feeling of like, don't embarrass us, kind of like, you don't fuck this opportunity. But
that's very RuPaul. Stay zombie and don't fuck it up.
Fuck it up. But having that whole experience of going through and getting the prosthetic makeup was amazing. I want to say that time it took, I think about 3.5 hours, and some people took much longer than that. So some of the really super involved scenes. But mine, it was about 3.5 hours.
Yeah, it looked great. So there was like 100 of us, and anytime there was, they would ask for volunteers. We need somebody over here. And there were a lot of extras who seemed either just not that engaged or jaded, or maybe just whatever, they didn't care, and they would just go, and they were specifically called. But there were some of us who just wanted to be in every shot, and when we were over by the barn, I remember in particular, it felt like there was 6 or 7 of us right there, and we were all like trying to get to be the one in the shot. It was a little bit like you're kind of competing, that feeling of competing just a little bit.
Yeah, so, which that's naturally compete for the food and everything. So it goes along with it. But do you remember the one dude was like asleep in the back seat of the bus, like actively snoring? Do you remember? When they were like trying to get people to come out? And that one time when you were a trooper, I was like, my feet were like totally frozen. I was like, I just can't do it this time.
Yeah, that was like probably on the last night. Yeah, because the whole thing, it was like, if I remember right, 12 to 14 hours, mostly at night. So then we would get done and go over to this trough, and there was shaving cream, and you just rub your skin raw to get that freaking makeup off.
Yeah, because they would not let you leave in the zombie makeup on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there were just a bunch of us trying to get it off and as quickly as possible, because we were tired as hell and just wanted to get to sleep. And I had a hotel room pretty close by. I'd go there. I remember going to McDonald's afterwards, and they were looking at me funny. And when I got back to the hotel, I saw that I still had a bunch of blood on my ear coming down my neck.
But, you weren't all that good at washing it off a time or two,
Yeah.
Made the makeup people's job a little easier the second time.
And then I would just sleep, and then I felt like I wasn't doing much for those 4 days, but sleeping and being a zombie.
Yeah, I mean, I had an 1.5-hour drive home.
Oh my God.
And then back. So yeah, I don't recall doing anything besides that and coming home and sleeping.
Yeah.
I was exhausted.
So Randy asked another question. At any point did you get wrapped up in the ambiance of the whole scene? Being surrounded by that many zombie actors is, jokingly, one of my biggest fears. What if an actual zombie apocalypse happened right then? So I guess I'm asking, did you ever feel scared on set? I definitely got wrapped up in the ambiance, but I don't think I ever felt scared. I was the scary person, so I felt hungry.
Yeah. I was never scared, but it was extremely surreal. I mean, just being in there and but on those breaks, like you talked about, and just looking around and just being surrounded by all these zombies, and it's, kind of dark, and it was amazing, and like just the whole, I just cannot believe I'm here, and I
Yeah.
can't remember, have I ever talked about? I feel like I've talked
I don't,
about this before, but one time when it really hit me, and this is on the surrealness, not about the being afraid thing, so I'm going off my own tangent, but when Rick and Carl are on top of the RV, and it was during kind of a break, and Chandler Riggs is kind of looking down, there's light coming from like the top, so his face is a little bit half shaded, and it was just so cool because it's such the look that Carl would have in the comics with the hat
yeah.
and the shade on his face. And I was like,
Yeah.
this is so just, it was surreal. It was
Mhm.
crazy.
Oh, that's
But no, not scared.
And I remember when I first got to the studios, and it's, like you see in Hollywood, there's all these sort of warehouses and little like golf cart type deal. And then I walk around and trying to find the warehouse where they sent me to, and I came around the corner and I just saw inside this open warehouse this line of people in various stages of zombie makeup, and it's like a assembly line. They spray you with a certain thing at one part and then send you to the next one, and get splattered with some gunk here and get some junk in your hair. And it was just, I just felt a rush, like seeing that, like, oh my God, I'm actually here. Look at all these zombies. It's amazing. Like that was the first thing I remember. And then not too long after that, Grace came up to me, and that was the first time we actually met in person. And she was like, hi.
Oh, that's so cool.
That
really
was
cool.
weird too. Like I remember one time you were like walking behind me, like talking to someone else. So I couldn't see you, but I could just hear your voice that I was just so familiar with. And that was part of the surrealness too, was just, meeting you for the first time after only really hearing you and everything. But talking about the assembly line, it's funny because even like many, many years later, like the smell of like rubbing alcohol or the smell of Tresemme conditioner, which is what they would put in our hair to make it kind of look dirty and greasy,
Yeah.
like would just send me right back there.
Yeah, I loved it. I love that smell.
Oh yeah. I mean, well, the Tresemme was a little strong for me, but like I'm kind of sensitive.
The
But the
alcohol.
alcohol smell of the makeup, that's just such good memories.
And that leads into the next. Alex Kruger says, I've been so excited to hear you recover your experience. So adding the infamous Gracie Lou is just so much better. He says, all right, so this is going to sound crazy, but I've always hated the sensation of feeling sticky or caked on with anything. What was the makeup like, and how uncomfortable / in what ways were they uncomfortable? When they were asking for extras for The Ones Who Live, I considered it since I'm so close to Philly and Jersey, but I just couldn't bring myself to check it out for fear I'd be uncomfortable for 14 hours a day for 4 days. LOL. And if I remember right, because it's this alcohol based stuff, it's very dry, and it didn't feel to me like that much of anything caked on. It was a lot cleaner feeling than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's very, very lightweight. I mean, the prosthetics,
prosthetics are different. Yeah.
It's different because you kind of get a little bit itchy and you don't want to mess with it too much. But I think that the airbrush makeup, it's pretty comfortable. And especially because for this episode, it's so cold, you're not sweating it or anything. But
That's right.
I did the prison, some prison episodes where you're outside and it's like 90 degrees and you're just sweating and sweating. So you're sweating off the makeup, it gets in your eye, and they're having to retouch the makeup on you constantly because of all the sweating. It's kind of a pain, but it's pretty comfortable, I'd say.
Yeah. I was surprised. Alma Contreras, how long did the makeup take, and what kind of directions? Wait, that's just one question. How long did the makeup take? I can't remember, because I did get to do the prosthetics the next time I was on in the season 3 finale, and I think that took about 3 hours. But the assembly line, just spray on for the mid-ground zombies, I think that just took like 15 minutes, right? 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was just like 15, 20 minutes. I mean, I feel like getting wardrobe the first time, that you just kind of have your outfit and you have to, then you wear it for every other filming. So, but the first time you get it and they're like making you dirty, and just picking it out, making sure things fit and all that. That took much longer than the makeup, yeah, because they had it down pat. You get your base layer, and then you get the dark, and then you get your hair done, and yeah.
And then she asked, what kind of directions did they give you as how to act like a Zed? I don't remember getting any direction.
No, like I didn't I think that's the number one question I get is about zombie school. And I didn't go to zombie school. But I've seen videos of zombie school, and I'm like, oh my God, those people are terrible.
Yeah.
I'm like, God, there's some people that are really bad.
One guy the night that we were there was just so bad. He looked so weird. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? And Greg Nicotero just kept coaching him, and I'm like, I think Greg's a really nice guy, because I would have just subbed him out at this point.
Yeah. I was actually one time on Home, I think it was, or one of the prison ones, there was like this younger guy, and I don't know if this was his first time or what, but he was out front and I was kind of out in the back, whatever, they had sent me out in the back. And I couldn't see what was going on, but we went through a few things, and all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, you," and pointing to me. They're like, "Switch out with this guy," and then they put me up front. And I'm like, "Oh, obviously he was like a big fail of his zombie walk." I don't know. I couldn't see what was going on, but I'm like, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, I don't know if I probably told you the story if you didn't witness it, but I was there were 5 of us, and we were all coming for Herschel, and he was supposed to shoot each one of us in succession, and I was number 5. And I'm pretty sure he was, because you do a few takes usually of each scene, and he was only shooting 4 times, so I wasn't falling down because he wasn't shooting me, and they told me he was going to. So I raised my hand to the assistant director who was directing that sequence, and I was like, "Excuse me, but he's not shooting me, and so I don't know if I should fall or what." And she's like, "Are you trying to tell me how to do my job?" Like that. And I was like, funny. Oh God. And I didn't realize it, but I figured it out after a while that if you're an extra, you just need to keep your mouth closed and not say anything.
Oh my.
Do what you're told.
That was Polly. She was actually pretty sweet. So
she was frustrated or something. And I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." And then after that, the other extras who were around, they were like kind of shunning me a little bit, like, "Oh, stay away from this guy."
Wow.
And then a scene right after that, I stumbled out to go after Herschel, and when they broke, Polly, the assistant director, came over to me and she goes, "I think that's one of the best zombie walks I've ever seen." Ooh, and I think she felt bad about dressing me down. And so then all the other extras around were like, "What were you doing? Show me." And so that was really interesting. That was kind of traumatic, actually.
Yeah, that would.
But I'm glad I'm glad she did that.
At least she made up for it.
Okay, let's see. I guess that's all the questions. There weren't a whole lot, but I was just gonna see if we had any other like random memories that stood out. Anything else come to mind for you?
I don't know. I mean, I think some of my most favorite memories are, or some too that I didn't like, but was the whole picking out the wardrobe of that process and everything. And Yulin Womble was the one in charge back in those days. And, just how they go about doing it, and they get a character. I remember one time, it wasn't this episode, it was a different one. They got all dressed, and I was feeling myself. I thought I looked pretty cool. And Yulin's like, "Oh, I like that. You look like a soccer mom." And I was like, she could have just shot me and I would have felt better. I was like, that just brought me down. I was just so sad. I was like, I look like a soccer mom. Exactly what I don't want to look like. I don't want to look like myself, basically. But
she's Yulin Womble. Yeah, I think she was South African or something. This beautiful woman with lots of style, and she was like really cool. She went to a Walker Stalker.
Cool. And she always had her little black and white Shih Tzu there, Pablo, I think his name was. And like on some of the sets when there weren't very many people, like, Pablo would just be trotting around, back there in wardrobe, and or back where we're like waiting. And so I would like kill some time, playing with Pablo and scratching him. But I just like the whole experience of, having them get dirty, and they would really look at you. I mean, they were like, "Oh no, that's not enough," and they put a little splatters on you, and that was just.
It was like you're the canvas and they were the artist.
Yeah. And they were total artists. It was a great. I think the whole process of just getting in costume and the makeup too was just so much fun.
You weren't supposed to take any pictures, but I think later they started taking people's cell phones away, but they didn't back then. So I went in the little, was it like an outhouse or something, or a bathroom? And,
the bathroom trailer.
Yeah, trailer. And I took pictures of myself in there because I wanted to have something to remember it. And I'm so glad I did that. And then I took one picture of the farmhouse too. But I was just so impressed when I went in there of how cool it looked. And that reminds me too, when a shot looked good, they would always tell us after, or sometimes you could even tell by their reactions. They were just like, "Oh yeah, that looks so good." So I enjoyed that. Like they would just, like when we were reaching out for them from the barn, or one time me and a couple other zombies, when we were approaching from far out in the grass, we would stumble over this wire fence and they would say, "That looks good. What you guys are doing, keep doing that." So I thought that was really neat. They would do that. What about you, Lucy? Do you have any questions about any of this?
No, it's just been amazing to listen. I wondered about the barn. Did you get paid?
Yeah,
we did. It was like $8 an hour.
Yeah.
Oh, just like a year or two ago, I was cleaning out this dresser of mine, and I found a couple like uncashed checked, and I was like, "Oh man, I should go cash these." And then I saw it was like, within 90 days. I was like, "Damn, that $50 or whatever it was."
Yeah, I think I made like maybe $500 for the 4 days, and I was so stoked to have a check that said Walking Dead on it, and I would have totally paid to do that. So
for sure, it wasn't about getting paid at all.
And when I did the season 3 finale, I had to fall backwards, and they gave me an extra $50 for that.
Well, how come we didn't get any extra money on this one?
Yeah, I think I
can't tell you how many times I fell.
I know. I think that came later. I guess.
I didn't get any bumps, nor did I get any training on how to fall properly.
Yeah.
But I was fine. There was so much grass there. But
yeah.
So when were you, what other appearances did you both make? So Jason, you did the season 3 finale. Was that your final one?
That's it. Yeah.
Oh, what about you, Grace? When?
Yeah, I don't know the exact episodes, but it was all season 3. But I was, at the prison, mostly all prison stuff. And then that one where Michonne gets the second set of walkers. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And there's some really, I get a lot of FaceTime in that one and some good shots. But I'm
gonna be looking out for you now. Yeah.
But mostly everything was either in the prison or outside the prison fence, or inside the prison. Yeah, just outside of the building. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So I made a few just random notes. I'll just go through. So one time I was walking around the lot looking for a bathroom, and I couldn't find it. And someone just happened to come out of one of the buildings, and I was like, "Excuse me, do you know where the bathroom is?" And she pointed it out to me. And I realized right after she pointed it out and I started walking away that it was Melissa McBride. So I got directions to the bathroom. Andrew Lincoln was super nice. He at one point stopped everything and said, "I don't think these extras have earplugs, and we're about to start firing our guns."
Oh yeah.
So we got
that was when we were like in that little corral area.
Yes.
Right by the
really nice. And he would like tease us and pretend to shoot at us in between and stuff like that. Irony Singleton, I remember at one point we were all just sort of milling around, and he came out, and I was just like, "There's T-Dog, that is so cool." I just was looking at him, and he looked over and saw me, and I guess he could just tell by the look on my face. He just walked through a few other people and gave me a hug without even saying a word.
Oh, sweet. He's a hugger.
Pretty cool. And, yeah, I guess that's about it for that. The only other note I had to mention is for Patreon a couple of years ago or so, I did a video where I went through all my scenes and showed the images and, talked a little bit about it like we're doing now. So if you guys want to see that, it's on the Patreon. I'll put a link in the show notes.
Can I ask a non-extras related question for Grace?
Sure.
Yeah. What did you? So did you fall off the show, Grace? Did you finish watching the series as a whole? And if you did, what did you think?
I know I fell off the show, as you
Oh.
say. Yeah, it was. I think Jason remembers when I got disillusioned or whatever. It was like right around the time, some things were going down with Carl that didn't happen in the comic, and
That was
all that. And Jason was like, "What season?"
You don't have to worry about spoilers, by the way. You can talk about.
What? Oh yeah. So when they killed off Carl,
Mhm.
but like Jason tried to get me to come back. I think the whole garbage people and the bad CGI,
that's
and then the
bad.
stuff with Carl. And I really don't know that even though I was a comic reader, I don't think I fully recovered from Glenn's death either. In that sense,
No.
A lot of people are like that. But yeah, see, the thing is, season 7 and 8 are universally acknowledged to be the worst of the series. And then when Angela Kang came in as showrunner for season 9, and it changed it, she really refreshed it. She's a horror fan, so there was more like horror feel to it and different themes and a faster pace. And they brought in the whispers, which I didn't know if they would translate well to the screen, but they were better on screen than they were in the comics. So if you ever get the bug, I would recommend at least checking it out.
I mean, I should. It's so wrong to just leave it unfinished, but that's
whatever.
That's kind of my personality. When I I get really deep into things, and then when the joy is gone, I just leave it and don't really look back. But talking about it, I'm like, yeah, I wish I had that behind me. But
you could honestly start episode 1 of season 9 and not have missed much.
Yeah,
to be honest.
and I think if you went to season 9, episode 1 and watched it, you would know whether you want to keep going or not. Probably,
I'll have to try it. Yeah,
maybe.
But also, like, life is short. Protect your energy. Like, see what makes you happy.
Yeah, no shame at all. All right, let's get into some listener moans, groans, and grunts. We'll start off with a little live Steve.
Woo!
Hello, the cast of us. This is Steve, and this is for Beside a Dying Fire, the season finale of season 2 of The Walking Dead. Okay, where is this? Is this Atlanta that we're starting at? And we have a helicopter. That's a lot of walkers breaking down this fence. And it was the gunshot that killed Walker Shane that attracted him. I forgot about that. Whoa. Rick and Carl are stuck in the barn, and they just lit it on fire, and everybody else is in the house. Or I guess they're not in the house anymore, they're on the vehicles, because they know they got to get out. I mean, technically, Carl did set the fire. And there goes Jimmy. Ooh, shouldn't open that door, man. Just saw zombie Jason reaching for Rick. And now Patricia. I know I went radio silent for a little bit, but Lori and Andrea are going to escape. Not Andrea, Beth. Okay, so Andrea's by herself. What happened to Carol? Wasn't Andrea trying to save Carol? I'm confused. I guess that's what we're meant to feel, right? Confusion. There's Carol. Daryl's about to get her. Scene between Maggie and Glenn. Wow. So good. And Glenn saying that he loves her, and he's loved her for a long time. But how long have they actually really known each other? Like
2 weeks. Yeah.
And not to get to the origin of it, but no, Herschel, this is not the resurrection that Christ talked about. Okay? Just to be clear. And everybody's back together except Andrea, and we're just going to leave her because, it's just one person, right? But Andrea is alive, and she's being chased by walkers through the woods. Now the truth comes out, Rick telling all of them that they're infected. I just realized that Rick was about to say mofo, referring to Jenner, and they stopped him. All he got was mo out. Wow, Rick, that's a lot to hit Lori with all at once. You killed Shane. You wanted it over. Jenner was right. And by the way, Carl had to put Shane down. Oh, that's right. I forgot. Andrea's saved by Michonne. Wow, Andrew Lincoln just delivered this isn't a democracy, this is a dictatorship speech. Great. And we get the final shot of season 2 of The Prison. On to season 3.
That would have been awesome if he actually said, "This is a dictatorship."
Amazing.
Where'd that term come from? Because I can't think of it as anything else,
I don't know. Probably some fan.
It's just organic, I guess. It just rolls off the tongue.
It does. It rolls off.
All right, let's take turns going through these. I'm gonna go first, Grace.
Okay, this is from Nathan Eshelman.
Mm-hmm.
Rest in peace to the season 1 and 2 opening credits. This is the last time we'll see Rick in a newspaper and Shane and Lori through broken picture frames. I always loved the green tint of this opening and the camera sprawling across abandoned Atlanta.
Yeah.
Very
Can't even
cool.
remember what's next. Isn't it pretty similar with just different?
No more faces.
No more faces. Okay.
Jennifer McGinley says, see, when I recently watched a season 2 finale of another show with a mainly female cast, I did note the similarity between that and this season 2 finale. Think she might be talking about Yellow Jackets.
Mhm.
Season 2 and season 3 are by far my most favorite Walking Deads. Be hard pushed to choose between the two. Maybe season 3 because we no longer have Dale pushing his sanctimonious narrative on everyone. Tell us how you feel.
Yeah, we're going to just go right into season 3 since we covered Furiosa
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago. So next week, season 3, episode 1, one of the best.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle Jones says, I love the ending of this finale. I mean, the whole episode is epic and was absolutely what I was looking for when watching a show about zombies. The big horde of zombies, how you can feel the feeling of terror and being completely overwhelmed and scared beyond belief at what you're seeing. But I love the end when the group is around the fire and it pans up to show the prison in the distance plus the music score behind it. It really made a person excited and hyped for season 3. At least it did me. Plus the visual was just awesome. I feel like the season 2 finale was one of the better ones. Nice.
Okay, this next one is from Eric Featon. Jason, you and your raccoon eyes deserved an Emmy. For sure. Grace, fondest former co-host of mine, you should have received an Oscar for your star turn as Dead Zed behind Ritas. Don't think it was this episode or even this season. I forget. Yeah, definitely not. But I can't forget the performance, as well as your screen debut and What to Expect When You're Expecting. I've actually never seen my family and my friends have seen me in that one. I never went to watch it.
You were an extra.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was like trying to get experience so I could, hopefully get on The Walking Dead. Anyway, okay. The RV, rest in peace, gave the finest spoken word essay on the existential meaning of being considered recreational, earning the first Grammy awarded to a motor vehicle. Miss you all. Miss you too, Mr. Blog.
Yeah.
Aww.
And it was sad. We didn't really talk about the RV, but it was sad that something, so iconic from the comic died.
Yeah.
It was. All right, here's a call from Renee.
Hi guys, this is Renee calling in about The Walking Dead, about Beside the Dying Fire. First of all, I wanted to say, Aaron, you did an awesome job. Great job. Love your feedback. Love your perspective. Of course, I don't agree with you. Shane could never, ever, ever, ever be a better father than Rick Grimes. Shane was clearly unhinged, and he was awful, just like his girlfriend, Lori. Both of them were awful. I did not like the way that she reacted towards Rick when Rick told her that he had to put Shane down. For her to react the way that she did on this episode really pissed me off. And one of the callers called in a couple of weeks ago, and he was saying, how his mindset had changed from 14 years ago. And mine as well, because I just don't remember this aggravating me so much like it aggravates me now. Like, it really aggravates me. Like, how could this lady do what she did? And just to think about Carl, like, did he know about Shane and his mother? Like, I'm trying to figure that out because, the count was so small. Did they just let it be known? Because it seemed like other people knew, or did they keep that from Carl? Because how you think that made him feel? And it's like, girl, why are you off in the woods doing what you do and Carl is somewhere else if you're so concerned? I don't understand people saying that she wanted to feel something. At the time, a zombie apocalypse just started, 3 weeks, I'm not feeling shit, but me and my son, like, glued at the hip to each other. I don't want to feel nothing until we somewhere safe. Then I may be able to think about feeling something. But at that time, only thing I'm thinking about is my child and my child's safety. And she is the reason that Carl had to take down Shane because she was supposed to be watching Carl. And Carl got out of the house and went to go look for his daddy or whatever the hell Carl went to do because he was always going to do stuff. But yes, Lori, it was your fault. So I'm trying to figure out how in the hell you're going to be mad at Rick and react the way that you did. What type of wife are you? You never showed no remorse. You never was apologetic, and you're going to sit up there and act like a damn duck and look like a duck. I didn't like that. And I was glad that they cut to Michonne, and I'm glad that he found Michonne, because Michonne is his piece and he is Michonne's piece. And Michonne made sure that his kids was taken care of. And Michonne made sure that she was always there for Rick. Even though she didn't agree with everything that Rick did, she would let Rick know that, but she still would be right there beside him. Not behind him, but right beside him.
Ooh,
that is why Laurie and Shane is for the streets. They from the 304. All righty. Peace and love. Talk to you guys later. Bye. And my zombie sound. I really can do it now because that's how I feel about Laurie and Shane.
That's amazing. One thing though, like, God, I was pretty much with you the whole way there until you got to Michonne making sure the kids were taken care of, because that's the thing about Michonne is she left with just saying over the walkie-talkie, is it all right? Like with Judith and RJ. And I always felt like that was just because Denai Guerrero, of course, wanted to go off and do things, which is totally fine. But then it had this story impact that made it look kind of sketchy to me. But otherwise.
Always love to hear from Renee.
Absolutely.
We've got Billy Thompson. He says, love the opening to this one. Also love the trespass, it's your ass sign. I'd love some props from the Walking Dead sets, which makes me wonder, did you, Jason or Grace, accidentally, maybe without knowing, acquire anything from the set when you were walkers?
Did we?
I did not. Aside from a couple pictures of myself, I didn't take anything.
I don't think I did either. No, I don't know what I would have.
But we don't really have access to, I mean, there wasn't really cool stuff you could take. I mean.
Yeah. Yep, just pictures.
Yep.
Just memories. Billy goes on to say, Herschel was so badass in this episode, like a captain going down with his ship. And he says one of my favorite Walking Dead quotes too. Christ promised a resurrection of the dead. I just thought he had something a little different in mind. This is Laurie's worst episode by far. To act like that towards Rick after him doing what you asked is ridiculous and unfair. I still can't think of a good reason why Rick wouldn't tell them what Jenner told him straight away. Maybe to keep up morale. But it's so dangerous to keep that sort of information from the group, and could have led to even more deaths if someone were to come back. Overall, great season in my opinion. Can't wait for season 3 rewatch. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Billy.
Thanks, Billy. Okay, Elizabeth Schwartz says, a few notes I wrote down while watching. Jimmy drives up the RV to the barn, gets surrounded by walkers, and then slowly gets out of his seat and goes to the door to look. What did he think was going to happen? You weren't meant for this world, my guy. Did nervous Nellie make it off the farm?
Oh, nervous Nellie.
What's nervous
Horse.
Nellie?
Horse.
Oh, yeah. We don't know, huh?
No, we'll never know.
It's Walking Dead. No.
Yeah. No.
She's either dead or somewhere else.
Yeah.
Exactly. Lori says we have to go and find Carl. T-Dog says they're on their own. Absolutely savage response, T-Dog. Watching Lori's incredibly sus reaction to Rick killing Shane, even after being told that Shane was trying to kill Rick, made Michonne's appearance 30 seconds later even better. That's a good point. Carol's a, quote, man of honor while staring at Daryl with big wet eyes made me so uncomfortable. I'm glad season 3 puts an end to this strange potential romance and switches focus to the friendship. It is season 3 where she asks him if he wants to go fool around, if I remember right. And then R.I.P. Officer Friendly. Hello, Rick-tatorship. All right, that's great. Here is Archmaester Rennie.
Rennie.
Hi all, this is Rennie. So first I would just like to appreciate the conversation that's been going on about the controversial issues in the show. And I just wish that it was more possible to get students in university classes as involved in an engaged conversation over issues as this fandom has been. It's great. And I appreciate everybody who's written in and called in, and Jason and Lucy and their parts in the conversation. I think it's really important for us to have these conversations where we can express different points of view, different perspectives and insights, and not get mad at each other. And it's awesome. And I just appreciate the whole conversation. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks, Randy.
Yeah, we're talking about whether you should have pineapple on pizza, and
It just got so heated. Really emotional. Really
I'm just kidding.
emotional.
Thank you, Randy. I'm so glad you called in with that. I love
Randy,
it.
that means a
Great.
lot.
And, yeah, and I'm glad you brought the whole thing up. And here's the rest of what she had to say.
Now I want to change the subject and say another really big thank you to Grace. So glad that you're a co-host on this episode. It was your Comic Talk segment that made me start reading the Walking Dead comics after I had watched the first few seasons of the show. And then I followed you and Mr. Blog into Under the Comic Covers, and I read several more of the comics that you were reading on that podcast, and it was great. It got me into a whole new media. So thank you.
Amazing.
Aw.
Finally, I have just one word to say about this episode. Michonne! Woo!
That's her favorite.
That's all
Yes.
for now. Bye.
Bye.
That was great. Thank you.
Amazing.
Okay, our next letter here is from Rachel Teal Edwards. The most perfect couplet of dialogue to kick off the best action sequence yet. This is my farm and I'll die here. All right, as good a night as any. Daryl, that was a good line. There are so many awesome moments, but I especially love Patricia being ripped apart while she and Beth are still holding hands and screaming in terror. Jason, I'm excited to hear about your experience again. One of the most epic episodes, and you were there. We've all been waiting for this moment of Lori's utter shock and disgust that Rick killed Shane. She's awful. Let's focus on Rick. Rick seems understandably confused at first, but as he processes her reaction, he hardens. This must have been the purpose behind her over-the-top response. Rick just realized that even his wife doesn't have his back, despite his efforts to lead according to the will of the people. He just realized he'll never please everybody, and in fact, no matter what he does, some will inevitably hate him. So he immediately makes the decision to lead his way, to be the leader of the group needs, not the leader each person thinks they want. So fuck you all. This is not a democracy anymore. This is why, in the words of the early 2000s superstar Ja Rule, every thug needs a lady. Enter Michonne. Daryl once again comes through for Rick. Daryl never depended on Shane for survival and read Shane for what he was a long time ago. So I'm sure he wasn't surprised at all to hear what Shane did to Rick. It makes my heart happy to hear Daryl defend Rick so openly and directly. Rick has honor. Damn right. Love the beautiful beginning of their brotherhood.
Here.
Awesome.
10 out of
Thanks.
10. It's the real love
Rachel.
story of The Walking Dead.
That's right. It was Shane and Rick, but that ended tragically. So
I know. Brutal.
here's Wendy.
Hey, Jason and Lucy. It's Wendy.
Hello.
I wanted to give my feedback for Season 2, Episode 13, Beside the Dying Fire. I've really been enjoying the rewatch. Thanks for doing that. I love this episode. I feel like this was the most action we've seen truly since the beginning of the series. It was just an action-packed episode. Loved the running from the farm. Loved all of those parts. Really cool to know that Gracie and Jason were extras in these scenes. I think that's just so cool. The very ending, which feels like the beginning of the dictatorship, kind of felt like manufactured drama. It didn't fit with what had just happened, and it kind of felt a little odd and disjointed. I think, they were trying to get to the next part of the story, so they needed that to happen, but it just didn't make a lot of sense to me. Like Carol trying to convince Daryl to go off on their own. That just seems like something that wouldn't have happened. And I know Lori was upset by what Rick was telling her. And again, a lot of that felt manufactured. It didn't feel like that's how she would really respond. So I did feel like the end was just a little disjointed, but I've been loving the rewatch. This episode was just amazing with all the zombie action. Really loved the cold open with seeing the zombies and their behavior. I thought that was really cool and something we didn't get to see enough of in the beginning. So looking forward to all the next episodes.
Yeah, another thing this season did was kind of starve us for zombie action because it's probably the most zombie light season of the show. So when they all came at the end, it was such a rush.
Yeah. Navarda has written in and says, "Hi, Jason and Lucy. This is Navarda from Queensland, Australia. This is my first email to you. Hello, Navarda. I love how this episode starts us right back in the city, a reminder of civilization lost. Then we follow the horde to the farm, where we see that chilling shot of Rick and Carl walking away from the camera with the horde following. Creepy and yet exciting. Daryl is talking so much now, and he has an air of confidence about him as he helps make plans in the house before it all goes to hell. The first time I saw Daryl and everyone else was season 4. I was introduced to the school by my teenage daughter, who would watch it after high school while I prepped dinner. I went from passive watching to full-on invested, so I never saw the early Daryl until I went back and binged from the start by myself. Losing the farm would have been a tragedy to Herschel and his family, and everyone really. They probably thought that it would be where they were staying for an indefinite amount of time. Then they get run off, which would be the way things were from then till the prison, for a short time anyway. I totally forgot that this was the episode where Rick tells them we are all infected. That was a shocking revelation for him. I have forgotten more than I'd realized. It's nice to still be surprised after all these years. This is my 3rd time through the series, but my first time through with you lovely people.
Nice.
When Rick tells Laurie about Shane, I think she's shocked about the reality of Rick killing him, even though she asked for it, but I think she's devastated when he says Carl put him down. This apocalypse is turning her little boy into a killer. As a mother, I can empathize, though Laurie really rubs me the wrong way most of the time. In the scene at the fire where Rick tells everyone he killed Shane for them, I would be freaking out if I was in that group. The way he tries to justify his reasons, he just sounds unhinged. Though I suspect guilt is playing a big role in his emotional state of mind at this point. He emits a scary vibe that gives me the chills. I'd be thinking, could I just leave and go out on my own? I'm sure the answer would be no, I'm stuck here. I can't fend for myself, and crazy or not, this guy knows how to kill.
Yep, they're in
So
prison.
my chances of survival are greater with this group. Although I'd have to fight my flight response, nervous laugh. Then that amazing pan to the prison just over in the background. They were so close. Maps, people, look at your map. One of the best parts of this episode is the introduction of Michonne. Hell yeah. One of the best thought out characters in the series, in my opinion. She's such an engaging character to watch. I'm excited to get to know her all over again. It was a loss to the depths of the show when Michonne went looking for Rick. I'm really enjoying this rewatch with everyone. I always felt like I missed the early years connection with all the fans and you when I found this podcast. Now I get to join in. I enjoy listening to you both and hearing the points of view of you and other fans. It's always interesting to hear how other people interpret what they see. Oh, thanks, Navarda. What a lovely email. It's so good to have you.
That's so sweet.
Glad you're joining us, and I would go back if you're interested, because we used to interview the actors in the early seasons more, and that might be kind of fun. If you go to podcastica.com and just search in with a little search box for any of the actors' names, stuff might come up. But anyway, that was great.
It really brings to mind how, like in the early parts of the season, like getting to experience it with you and Karen and everybody else, it was such a amazing community, and it really I think brought so much more, just fun and enjoyment of the show, having the whole community.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. All right, one more call, and that's Owen from Leeds.
Ooh.
On today's episode of Walking with Walkers, we see them having a nice time in Atlanta. They've finished feasting on a horse, and they've been disturbed by a helicopter. Maybe it wasn't a hallucination, one walker thought. We've then wandered and shambled and wandered and walked and wandered, and feasted on a squirrel or two, and we're now having a closer look, and we are having some more wandering. We're going through the countryside. We've come up on a fence, and that fence won't stop our intrepid wanderers. And on the latest moments through the high-tech cameras we have here on Walking with Wanderers, or is it Wandering with Walkers? I've forgotten the show title now. We can see they are going through the forest in the darkness, and they're having a lovely time, perhaps walking towards a stream, and a bang goes off in the distance. Well, I guess that's it for today's episode of Walking with Walkers, and we shall get back in touch with them on tomorrow's episode. I'm sure that bang's nothing to worry about, and that all our intrepid walkers will be perfectly fine, and the villainous Shanes and Ricks and Carls of the world won't harm them, nor will Herschel with his unlimited amount of bullets in his magic rifle. Enjoy another episode of Walking with Walkers next week.
I love it.
That was different.
I think that Owen is our UK Randy. I think Randy and Owen should team up.
They should team up. Yeah. Do something, guys.
Yep.
That shows me why the show is not from the point of view of the walkers.
Yeah.
but I also, no, I loved it. I'm just kidding. But I always did wish that they would have done an episode mostly from the point of view of a zombie. I don't know how they could have done it, but if they got really creative with it. But they never did. With Wendy and Rennie is on there, and Veronica, and they're going to be hosting this season, weekly, and they'll be doing like a book talk section and everything. So if you're into that show, I highly recommend checking out our podcast on it, which is called Dragon Cast. I also want to mention this episode is made possible by Patreon supporters like Kelly, who've pledged their support at patreon.com/Jason Kabassi. So thank you to Kelly. As I mentioned, I did a video where I went through a bunch of clips and images of me as a Zed and talked about where exactly they are in each episode. So anyone who pledges to Patreon can see that. And also, I want to mention, this is actually not totally a Patreon thing. Anyone can get in on this. Recently, everyone in the Patreon group made a list of over 100 favorite characters from shows that Podcastica has covered. And now in the Podcastica Facebook group, we're doing a bracket style tournament where we vote in rounds on pairs of characters, and we're going to winnow it down to see who the favorite is. And then they'll go up against, whoever that is will go up against the reigning champ from when we did this a couple of years back, and that was Rick Grimes. So we'll see who it is. But we've got Yellow Jackets characters, Game of Thrones, Rings of